Expert Commercial Real Estate Secrets podcast, where we believe most commercial real estate brokers and luxury realtors, they struggle with clarifying their passive income options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven strategy such as the eXp commercial model and purchasing investment real estate is the best way to grow your wealth. I'm your host, Brett Swarts. Each episode, I am joined by some of the best commercial real estate brokers, realtors, luxury realtors, and passive income wealth advisors in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration, so together we can make complex brokerage strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. I'm excited about our next guest. He's actually a what I call a real estate rock star and kind of Hall of Famer. Been in the industry for years. Remax, Keller Williams background, led teams. Also, what I love about him is he built another real estate team from the ground up and started coaching full time for the Tom Ferry International. He's a licensed contractor in California and Oregon, as well as a licensed real estate broker in California and Oregon. And he has just a passion for everything he does, and especially for helping others succeed in real estate. And let's face it, you want to have someone who's financially and fiscally aligned with you. And that's what Randy's here to share about, how he's been able to do that with his teams. Please welcome to the show with me, Randy Byrd. Hey, Randy, how you doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Brett.
Absolutely. Glad to have you. And by the way, you can find Randy Byrd at randybyrd.tv. That's RANDY. And that's BYRD. Okay, so don't put that I there on that second Y. So randybyrd.tv. Hey, Randy, would you give our listeners a little bit more about your background and current focus?
Sure. Thank you for that. I appreciate the intro and being involved with your show here. Real estate, 18 years, figured it out from the beginning. It's an interesting story. I joined real estate completely out of greed. I was building houses in Sonoma County, and, I'd build them for 7 months through the winter and wet and rain and get done and get it all premed up pretty and give it to my realtor, and they'd sell it in a week and make 40 grand, and I'd make 70,000 in 7 months. And I was like, this math does not add up. So I got my license literally out of just greed and necessity to sell my own stuff. And in doing so, really found a career that I love, very passionate about, and really found home very, very quickly. Went full time in real estate. For me, probably a mistake looking in hindsight, but I moved to a brand new town. I was in Santa Rosa, California. I moved to Redding, and I knew 3 people, and I was related to 2 of them. So literally, I knew nobody. And I was just running scared. I was just doing everything I could to learn that industry, and made a lot of mistakes along the way. But I also had a lot of grit and didn't listen to everybody's naysaying along the way. I was willing to outwork everybody else, and ended up becoming having traction, having success, and building a pretty large organization on those grounds.
That's beautiful. Great intro. So excited to dive into some of those strategies and how you were able to do that. But before we go there, I want to take one step back.
Sure.
I believe we've all been given certain gifts in this life. I believe they're God-given gifts. Some people call them superpowers. But I believe these gifts were given to us, Randy, as a way to be a blessing for others. So I'm curious, maybe go back to the college days, maybe the high school days. Maybe was that 1 or 2 gifts you believe maybe you were given? And how does it help how you help and bless others today?
That's a great question. It gave me goosebumps. That means that was a great question. And, a lot of people respond with, it's a great question, just to give yourself time to think about it. But I'm not. I know the answer. And mine was grit. Mine was, I lost my mom at 7. My dad raised us, my brother and I, alone. And he was a police officer in Compton, California, a very, very tough area. I was born and raised in East LA. And frankly, I always had an entrepreneur spirit, but I didn't know how to direct it and what it meant to me. So I, went through a lot of different jobs looking for that right thing, but high school wasn't for me. I moved 3 high schools in a period of just 3.5 years of school. My dad moved me for, private reasons, that we had to relocate from East LA to a little town in Calaveras where I went to school. And then we moved to Lodi where I finished high school, or didn't finish high school, because I was not interested in high school. I was interested in playing football and girls, and that was it. But what I did do is I had a work ethic, and I don't know where the work ethic came from, but I just had a work ethic that was working 2 and 3 jobs. And with that entrepreneur spirit, I always had a side hustle. I always had a paper route. And then I had the biggest paper route. And then I took over my competitor's paper route. And then I moved into grass cutting, and then I moved into other things. And then when I entered the work environment, it didn't change. Even though I had a job maybe at a trucking company, I still moonlighted in the evenings doing construction and whatever else that would, provide me the things I wanted. I never took no for an answer, meaning that if I wanted the car or a boat or some special thing, I just didn't look at it like I'm living in the lack. I didn't know it at the time, but I was living in abundance because I believed that I just had to outproduce and outperform my problems. And I've done that my whole life. And some of it's worked out great. Some of it's worked out horribly wrong. But that was really, I think, the secret to my success early on. And then, frankly, troubled youth, growing up in that environment, I was always in trouble in some regard. Raised my brother very young, so it made me adult very quickly. And, all those things lead to a dangerous path when you're a young youth in that environment in East LA. And but what I do remember is entering the military. I went in the military at 20 years old in the Coast Guard, and very quickly found my place. Very quickly, the discipline of the military created a discipline within me that allowed me to enhance all the things that I had great work ethic and great attributes to my spirit of giving and working with people. But the military gave me that pride of chain of command. And then it just, literally just blossomed after that. I started running large hotels as a chief engineer and director of engineering. And that chain of command hierarchy that was instilled in me in the military and the disciplines of that, I started advancing very, very quickly through the leadership roles and other pieces of really anything that I applied myself into. And so I think it really goes back to the military if I had to put one thing on it. But it was growing up very young. It was growing up very early for a young kid of 11, 12, 13, having to literally raise his younger brother. And so for me, I think that's really kind of where it started on that journey.
Amazing. When the book comes out, Randy, let me know because I'll be the first one to buy it because there's so much so much there, right? So these are the two themes I picked up on just that. So growth through adversity and grit and entrepreneurship, and then being able to the military being able to hone your character and your leadership skills through discipline. Is that a fair summary?
That's 100%. And great summary.
Yeah. So now let's dive into how you've been able to take those challenges in life, persevere, right? And then the disciplines you've learned to the real estate brokerage world. So I want you to take us from being a realtor to then moving up to managing an office to now coaching to now maybe doing a mixture of everything right now. Take us through that journey.
Yeah, I love that. And actually, I'm looking forward to this journey because I really do believe that there's nuggets in here that a young agent or an agent looking to reinvent their career are going to be able to grab onto without just being motivational fluff. Because there is a lot of motivation in our world, and there's a lot of great people, Tony Robbins and Brian Buffini and Tom Ferry and just, Tom Bilyeu, a lot of people that I track with, Gary Vee, all these people. But the people that are emerging the most are the ones that give you impactful information that can make a difference. And so for me, the journey was this. I got into real estate and moved to a brand new town, being Redding, California, far northern California, and I knew nobody. So I had to really focus on how do I meet people? How do I get into this environment? And I didn't have coaching this time. That's the one regret, is I wish I would have understood the value of coaching back then. I didn't get into coaching for probably 5 or 6, 7 years into my business until I really started succeeding. And then felt like, I could afford it or whatever the case may be. I think it was a mindset thing over money. But in the beginning at Coldwell Banker, I said, hey, I'm open. I'm a blank sponge, blank piece of paper. Tell me what to do. And he's like, well, first thing to do is go upstairs to the training locker and pick out something that, that you kind of resonate with. And I go up there and I open this metal cabinet, and it's no exaggeration. It was literally like opening the Dead Sea Scrolls. It was like dust falls out. And I look in this and I grab this thing called Floyd Wickman Sweat Hogs. Now, this is probably from the 70s or 80s, but I didn't know anything about anything. So I didn't know any better. And I grabbed this and I opened this thing up and I go, I'm going to do this. This is what they recommend. They know what they're doing. So I'm going to do it. And it said, call 100 people a day. And I'm like, I know nobody. How do I find 100 people a day? And so it said, call through the phone book. So I literally was going through the phone book. Now, it's only 2003, not a long time ago, but it's a long time ago. But I was in the phone book and I was, this is before Google and all these things by a few years, but I'm going through the phone book and I'm just calling people. I'm trying to isolate neighborhoods and I go, this is not working. So I just start going A, B, C, D, and whatever. And to this day, I still will burn out the script that I was using back then because I did it so much that it still comes to the top of the mind when I get stressed or if I get like a quick answer. Hi, this is Randy Byrd with Coldwell Banker CNC Properties here in Redding. How are you doing today? Hey, quick question. Are you thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate in the next 6 months? Pause. And depending on their answer, yes, no, or a stall was where I wanted to go. And if they said, yeah, we've thought about it, then I'm all, dog on a bone. Or if they said, not really, and they kind of stalled, then that's a soft yes to me as well. And then, I've had people say, nope, they're going to carry me out of this house in a pine box. And I go, do you mind if I stay in touch with you gently anyway? So I started building this database. But the bottom line is I did not quit every day until I got to 100 or an appointment. Didn't know any better. Didn't know anything about anything. Well, all of a sudden, I started booking an appointment a day. I booked an appointment on call 37, on call 52, on call 99 twice that I remember. Specifically, on call 99, I'd book my appointment for the day. I remember that because it's a celebratory thing. And so I'd go out there and again, I don't know anything about anything. So I'm just having conversations and learning. I had a sales skill. I've always had a sales skill. I've always had a gift of gab and a gift of conversation. So that piece was easy to overcome, but I knew nothing about anything. I'd go to the house and I'd never been in the neighborhood in my life. I just moved there. So I learned how to search for homes in that particular neighborhood and then ultimately become an expert in that particular neighborhood before I went on the listing appointments. So for me, that was my first 6 or 7 months journey in real estate was just that dialogue. And it came with guardians. I call it gatekeepers of people that didn't believe what I was doing. So they started trying poo-pooing on what I'm doing, right? And so I'm in my little cubicle that Coldwell Banker gave me, this Coldwell Banker in Redding, California. And I'm in this little cubicle and making my calls and there's 20 other people upstairs and they're all big producers. I'm upstairs, luckily with where the main producers were. And I'm making my calls and they're coming by and throwing little notes on my desk like, oh, this is Randy Byrd with CNC Properties and just really antagonizing me along the way until they started recognizing what I was getting accomplished. And then they started asking questions like, hey, how are you getting these lists and things? Well, then I got listing appointment, listing, closing. And mind you, and this is not a thing about that particular brokerage, and I'm just talking about my experience, but I was on a 45-55 split on the bad end of the split. So I was on a 45 split with a 6% franchise fee. It's common business back then, but I didn't know what I didn't know. I thought that was pretty competitive. So I'm now doing deals and get nominated to be Rookie of the Year and all these other accolades in the first 6-7 months. And, I looked at the end of the year, how much I made in that 7 months. And it was like $28,000. And I'm like, 28,000, I can't live on $28,000. And I'm one of the rookies of the year. And so Remax reached out to me in a recruiting call and said, hey, are you interested in 100% commission? And I said, yes, 100% commission sounds amazing. And so that was the transitional journey to the next thing. And I'll share a story that's vulnerable because I do feel like I'm a committed guy. I don't change companies just for the next shiny object when it comes to that. I'm very dedicated to my broker. It just comes from that chain of command that the military instilled in me. And I went to my broker and I said, hey, I got called by Remax. I'm just curious. Can we talk about my split? And they looked at me like I was an alien and said I was brand new, that no, you're where you're at until you get to this level and all this stuff. Well, I put in notice and said I was leaving. And I cried. I cried in the office of the manager. I'm an emotional guy anyway, but I felt like I was leaving something on the table. And my family, after 6 or 7 months, I felt was there. And I'll never forget this because I was weeping. I was like, hey, I really love you guys, but I got to take care of my family and I got to do this. And as I was walking out, they held the door open for me, and two or three of the people, including the manager, kind of said, hey, you'll be back. You're going to fail over there. And really made it so I turned around and said, I will never be back. Not only that, I had like an axe to grind now in terms of production. And so I joined RE/MAX, and I was there a few months before we broke the year. But my very first year in real estate in a town I've never been in. Now I've been in business less than a year, maybe accumulatively. But now my first full year at RE/MAX, so it might have been 16, 17 months, whatever it is to be integral, I did 338,000 in GCI. I closed, I forget the number, but it was 11.8 million, I believe, was my very first year in real estate, full year. And I never looked back. I never looked back. I had opportunities to have Coldwell Banker come back. Now they were the number one office in town by a ton, an 800-pound gorilla. So, the journey for me was just a lot of grit. It was a lot of belief that I could outproduce my problems, but I didn't know what I didn't know. So I was door knocking, I was walking, I was, somebody at a real estate event goes, if you walk 100 doors a day, that's 500 a week, you'll be successful. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that. And so it didn't come with the fear of what was the expectation or the failure. It was just like, I was listening to whoever I could to take the next, nugget and try and make it happen. And frankly, I started building a large brand and a large business. And then all of a sudden, within 2 years, I'm one of the top 5 agents in town. I'm invited to the top performers thing where we're speaking in front of the whole MLSs. And that was kind of the start of my real estate career, was just strictly out of fear and not knowing anything about the business, but not afraid to try anything that somebody put in front of me.
Amazing, Randy. Oh my gosh, that's the second book, right? You can write your
That's still the first book, but yes.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. There's so much there, but I want to get straight to the next question,
Sure.
Which is this. I want to take what you just said, and I want you now to apply that to the biggest thing that we're focused on, right? Which is helping people escape feeling trapped by passive income, old models or old brokerage models, right?
Yeah.
Not knowing how to get out of the rat race of just selling real estate,
Yeah.
right? Not that you don't still sell real estate, but how do you work on the business, build a team? But I want you to take that. I want you to put us in the position of the fear and the uncertainty of something that's new or different. Sort of like when you went from Coldwell to RE/MAX at 100% commission, right? Well, now they're going to this old model, to the eXp model. So connect those dots, and what was the game changer part for you?
Another great segment to that, because really, agents get in a place of complacency. Now I'm a coach, so I might put my coach hat on a little bit and coach, come up in a coaching perspective. But when I look at anything that we do in life that changes, you have a lot of different personality profiles. Some people are risk takers, and some people are, really safety and security is job number one for them. So when you look at their business profile, even if things are not aligned great for them financially or otherwise, they're afraid to make that move for fear of loss, right? That's just a normal transition in that business model. But when you mention a company like eXp, now eXp has the street credit. It has the stocks. Now, when I joined, it was a penny stock and it had no value effectively or no street credit and was actually a negative. Right now, it's a major positive. It's a $3 billion company. But that belief to take that leap comes from a place of lack of fear, right? Or at least exploring all the options. So the thing about real estate that I think is so important to me, and quite frankly, what led me to coaching, was every person that I talked to, successful, new, or otherwise, never had an exit strategy. My exit strategy back in 2007, 8, 9, and 10, in that range when I was doing 100 transactions a year and really in the prime of my business, was the fact that I could scale my business. Leverage is the key word in real estate, scalability. And to me, at the time, that meant 5 buyers agents, a listing specialist. I was the CEO, and a lot of coaches were teaching that model, that then I can leverage myself out, and I could do that until I was 70 or 80 years old. That was my retirement plan, was to be able to do that, scale that team, and run that into a point to where I was 70 or 80 years old. And then that would provide income to me. Never thought of selling it. I always was into the leverage piece. And then I could buy my investments, pay them off over time. That would provide an income for me. And then, investments with mini storage and these other pieces were my retirement plan. And honestly, my journey started 10 years ago when I was introduced to network marketing. I have a large a large isogenics organization just by default. I really worked hard the first year or two and then haven't done anything in literally 5 or 6 years, but it's continued to grow over 25,000 people now in my organization. But what that taught me in network marketing was the scalability and the residual income, because everything in network marketing is about networking with the people you know and getting passive income from those little tiny pieces of relationships of helping people get what they want. And if you help enough people get what you want, you get what you want, right? Zig Ziglar, it's on the back of my business card. So for me, when eXp came along, it was kind of a no-brainer. I just said, holy moly, somebody's invented, and not everybody's going to agree with this statement. It is what it is. It's my journey. Somebody's invented a network marketing platform for real estate. And I was like, that's brilliant. Whoever thought of that? Now, that's what attracted me to Keller Williams back in 2007. As I was, the top producer in the office at RE/MAX, I was running the team, 140 transactions and $44 million in production that last year I did with Al. And I was not interested in leaving at all. But Keller Williams painted a picture of financial freedom through profit share. And that was something that I could not unsee. Once I saw that, I could not unsee that. And so that's what attracted me to that model of, escaping the hamster wheel of real estate, if you will, as I progressed down that journey. But again, you don't know what you don't know today. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's kind of what we tease about with the eXp model.
So well said. And I call it, take your pride out of the way of the underwriting, right? And so especially on the commercial side of things, for multifamily brokerage over the years, started at Marcus Millichap, we'd underwrite the property, and clients have an expectation of a certain price, and so do buyers, but so do lenders. And I always say to the client, look, my and your opinion mean this much. You know whose opinion matters the most? The lender and the buyer, right? And they're going to look at your numbers and they're going to underwrite this, and it's going to be an X type of cash flow. And so underwriting the model and getting your pride out of the way is the most important thing to having a successful transaction, sure, right? And hopefully making a fair deal with everybody. And two other themes that kind of caught my my attention with you, and I appreciate you sharing it, is this, that you were open-minded enough and you didn't let fear get in the way of trying something, right? It reminds me of a story when I was down in San Diego, and I was playing basketball. I was a walk-on at Point Loma, and I had an opportunity to play basketball back in my hometown, which is Rockland, California. And for a kid who grew up in Rockland, going away to San Diego for college, I had my brother, my at the time my girlfriend, but now my wife down there. It was beautiful San Diego. Like, there's no way I'm going back home, to just little old Rockland. But my brother gave me some wisdom. He said, hey, Brett, the worst thing that can happen is after 1 year, it doesn't work out, you come back down to San Diego. I was like, huh. He goes, but if it works out and it's truly where, you were meant to be, you're going to know it and it's going to change everything. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. So I got my pride out of the way, right? I got the fear of losing something that I was loving down there. And it was the best decision I made, bar none. So Randy, I want you to go right now to your decision to go to eXp. Why has it been the best decision that you've ever made in your real estate brokerage career?
Yeah, and that's an easy one for me now because of the success that we've had and the people that we've aligned with. But I want to digress a little bit too, because you mentioned something that's really powerful. Agents today, like right now today, if they change from their current broker to eXp, which there's a lot of arguments, fastest growing real estate company on the planet, NASDAQ traded, stock options, true level playing field between the broker and the agent, right? So I'm pitching you right now. I'm selling you on the model for just a second. But if you took that leap, now's the best time to ever do it, because eXp has so much power and attraction now that if it's not a fit for you in 3, 6, 12 months, your broker will buy you back. Your broker will pay more than you're making today to get you back into that model. I promise you that. Don't burn a bridge. If you decide to join eXp, do not burn that bridge. Do whatever it takes to make that broker happy, minus staying there. But if you make that choice, I'm finding a lot of people coming over with that safety net of like they could go back, and they're getting offers that are surprising them in what their current model is. So food for thought. But for me, it's been an absolute match made in heaven for me, because I am a networker, entrepreneur minded person. I was a team leader at Keller Williams. So the agent attraction piece has been a shorter learning curve for me. And what it all comes back down to is letting go of your ego and your pride. Because to this day, I still get a little butterfly when I call a certain agent or something, and I do it anyway, just because I've conditioned my muscles to identify when I'm afraid and make that call anyway. I did it this morning. I had a FISBO that kind of gave me a little bit of a bad time, and I went to pick up the phone, and that little thing, that butterfly in my belly was like, I don't want to call them. And I was like, ooh, I don't want to call them. That means I'm going to call them. Boom, I call them. Now we're having a conversation, right? So eXp for me, the journey has been this. 4 years ago, I joined in September 16, and I did nothing for 2 years, literally nothing. I didn't enroll one person. I was just doing some transactions, but mainly coaching full time. But I was watching, and I was seeing the traction that Brent Gove and the organization was having. I was watching the growth go from 3,800 agents or so when I joined to 6,000 to 10,000 to 16,000. And then they uplisted on the NASDAQ and all this stuff. I was watching from the sidelines effectively. And I said, I cannot afford not to get engaged into this. And then I was blessed. One of my first hires was the incredible Don Yoakum. Don owned 30 Keller Williams offices, or partial ownership in 30 Keller Williams offices, built 10 from the ground up, folks. This guy is a leader. He's brilliant. He understands the model. When he said yes to eXp, I knew my life and game had changed, because it's that one person that could change everything in your business. Unlike a traditional broker, when I owned Keller Williams, I had 88 agents, and then later left the Keller Williams franchise and went independent, had 25 agents. If I brought on an agent, I was the one paying all the expenses and fees and stuff, and I had all the liability. That was the key thing. At this model, I was able to scale my business and grow it to 88 and now over 448. But I was able to do that with zero risk and liability of exposure, but yet with a very modest broker alignment cost, meaning that, for me to be part of eXp, especially if you're not even a producer, it's still one of the most competitive models on the planet, and especially the commercial model. I mean, wow, it's literally the most competitive model. But when you look at that, this business decision is everybody has regrets. I regret that I didn't engage in the beginning, like with Brent Gove. I was one of the first 10 people Brent called. And, the bottom line is I don't cry in my soup over it. But what you do today could set you free in a year or two from now. And if you wait a year or two from now to see it, then the opportunities just moved further along for you. The opportunity is still there. Matter of fact, I think we have some of the greatest opportunities today in the company. But I don't know how far out of bounds I went on that answer, but you could tell that I'm excited about this, and it's easy to get juiced up when I get asked these questions.
Well, Randy, it's easy to get juiced up when I have the pleasure to align with business partners like yourself, like Don Yoakum, like Matt Stewart, like Tom Daves, like Brent Gove, and provide what's called, transformational brokerage model, right? Transformational brokerage teams. It's no longer just like a transaction, right? It's no longer just working for someone and building someone else's dream, like the Keller Williams dream, or taking all the debt and liability on yourself, or feeling trapped by training team members, or bringing on, juniors. In my business, I remember at Marcus Millichap, I was training my competition, and I might get 1, 2, or 3, commission checks from them. I think Brent Gove says he would get a Starbucks gift card, right, for the people that they would train, and they'd go make, $200,000 for the office. it's no longer about just the transaction and then having this competition, this weird feeling about the person across the way because you kind of trained them and coached them, but now they're your competition. It's now like, hey, no, we're in this together. And let's take all of that competitive spirit, let's take all of that drive, all of that grit, and let's bring our best talents, our best gifts, and let's align to go serve the client in an amazing transformational way. And yeah, we all make money together, right? We only make money if you sell real estate. And I have a similar story. 3 years ago, I was approached by eXp and I said, first of all, it's a residential place. Second of all, I'm not into the MLM thing. I'm a commercial real estate, multifamily, it's different. It's just different, and so I dismissed it, right?
Timing wasn't right.
Yeah, but then I had a good leader, a good friend of mine, Matt Stewart, who's the golf coach at William Jessup. We played basketball for over 10 years together. When I was playing there, we play in the morning. So I knew him before all of this. He's a good friend of mine. And I actually joined not because of just the model. I actually joined on the leadership and the collaboration. And I got a chance to meet Don Yoakum. And funny story, when I first started my career, I was one of those original agents or, getting licensed at Keller Williams Roseville office, which Don took from 10 agents to like 180 agents, the fastest growing KW office, I think, ever. Yeah, in the history. And so I go, oh, he's with you? And then they go, oh, yeah, not only him, it's Tom Daves. He's been the 7-time KW agent worldwide. I go, oh, well, maybe I'm missing something. I took away my pride and I said, look, maybe I'm missing something and maybe there's something to this. And there was rumblings of eXp commercial. And I said, well, I want to get in now, get into the culture, see if it's legit. And then if it is, an eXp commercial comes off, then we're going to just go full steam ahead on this. So that's where we're at now. Any thoughts on any of that?
Oh God, are you kidding me? So yes, collaboration's number one. Brett, this is the first time we've ever met. This is where the rubber hits the road for eXp. This is the first time we ever met. You asked me to be on your podcast. I said yes. And I'm like, who's Brent? Well, you happen to be in my organizational alignment, right? The 7 levels of pay that the eXp pays out of the company dollar, not what the agents do, but the contribution in your split to the company dollar, they pay in revenue share. Revenue share is mathematical certainty as opposed to the other brand. I talked about earlier what attracted me to the model was the profit share. The revenue share is mathematical, profit shares got variables. But you said something very key that I triggered on, which is the collaboration. In my opinion, what attracted me to the red model many years ago was the fact that it had 2 dimensions of opportunity. It had my commission that I was doing already and being very successful, but it offered me this opportunity to build a team and get paid residually through profit share with them. That 2-dimensional model really lit me up and what attracted me to that model back in 2007. eXp comes along that I said no to, by the way, with Brent Gove. I literally just inked a franchise agreement. Not many people know this, with Next Home and Next Home Wine Country in Sonoma County. I just inked that like a week before Brent called me. And I go, dude, your timing's horrible. I literally just inked this deal a week ago. I have a franchise agreement I signed. It's not like I can get out of that. And he goes, just watch this video. Would you just do me a personal favor? Watch this video. Back then it was an 1.5-hour live webinar with Rob Flick. So Rob Flick did his whole 1.5-hour webinar with me. And it was 7 a.m. Brent, I didn't know, but he was laying in bed talking to me on the phone, then put the phone down and, probably went back to sleep. I spent an 1.5 hours with Rob Flick. Here's the deal. After 45 minutes, I was like, this is too good to pass up. This is too good to be true, actually. So when Brent came back with me, I go, hey, Brent, this is too good to be true. And he was new at it. So he was like, hey, watch it, poke holes in it, protect me. Tell me what I'm missing, because I'm excited, but I might be missing something. So I looked at it from that protection place, which is very valuable to do, right? I was looking out for Brent. And so I go, well, make sure that the revenue share model is sustainable. I'm in a network marketing company. I know about that space at a high level. Make sure the company's solvent and sustainable. I said the stocks are a penny stock, an OTC, over-the-counter stock. That's junk. That's not something to brag about. And it may go somewhere, but it could be worth nothing. So keep that in mind. And then I think the third thing that I talked about was something to do with the model. If the company's brand, is it big enough to even have any relevance, and how many agents, that kind of stuff. Well, looking into those things, the more I looked into, the more I realized that it was well thought out and they were very valuable. So you have a 3-dimensional model being The compensation model, very aggressive competitively. The stocks and options, which again, OTC at the time, now NASDAQ. And then the revenue share, which to me, it was a game changer because it was mathematical, right? I was in the red model and it just never worked out profit share because three things had to happen to make that profit share work. And any one of those variables I didn't control except what I did, right? And so when I looked at the mathematical piece of this, I was like, that's brilliant. And then the fourth dimension that's often neglected is what you said, which is collaboration, right? The collaboration by you being in alignment with me and Don Yoakum and Brent Gove and Tom Daves and Matthew Stewart and all these other brilliant people, we literally are in fiscal and financial alignment to help each other. I'm doing this because you asked and you're part of eXp. This is a culture of giving. And I do this, by the way, 5 to 7, 10 times a month for agents that are in the organization that want to, find out what the journeys were of other leaders and different things. I give back to everybody I can, and helping up people get what they want, you get what you want.
Absolutely. And Run with Rhinos, right? There's a book called Rhinoceros Success.
I have it on my desk.
And those that you run with, right, you're going to grow with, right? And those that if you're running with not, not rhinos, let's just put it that way, a soft way of saying it, then that's probably where you're going to grow, right? So make sure you're running with people who are smarter than you, who are more successful than you, and give back and humbly serve and take what they tell you and go implement it so that they get some reward in that as well. That's really what I feel eXp is about. They just bought Success Magazine, by the way, it's a $36 billion company, 123-year-old company.
Correct.
And it's about personal development and leadership. And they're committed to growing leaders and those leaders who happen to sell real estate and collaborating and teamwork and technology. I mean, it's just, there's so much to be excited about. So that being said, if you want to learn more about that, you can go to expertcresecrets.com. You can also reach out to Randy Byrd directly by going.
Don't reach out to me. Reach out to you, Brett.
Okay, well, reach out to me. But the cool thing is, if you go with me, you get Randy thrown in, and it's like the bonus, right?
True story. Cool. I'm icing on the cake.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But no, we really want to talk with you and see if you might be a good fit to join the team, right? We are looking for those who are running who are humble, hungry, and smart, and working hard to serve clients and want to collaborate on a team effort here. So that being said, you go to expertcresecrets.com or just call me direct, 916-303-3262, and we can talk directly. That being said, Randy, are you ready for the lightning round?
Yes.
All right, we're going to go quick on this and wrap up the show. So knowing what you know now, if you can go back to your 25.
You've got a great show. I know you're going to have a lot of success with this show, and I'm really blessed to be in alignment and in partnership with you. And, let's go. Light me round.
Okay, thank you so much for that encouragement. I appreciate that. So knowing what you know now, if you could go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget that you would make sure you would do?
Daily prospecting activity in my life, business, period, end of story. It's taken me years of getting to a place to where I treat that as one of the big rocks, one of the dollar producing activities in my business. I now coach that to a high level with every client I touch, but focus on your big rocks first in your business, and then let the rest of the gravel, sand, and water fill in the gaps. Quick,
what's the best time of day to do that for the realtor?
It's different for everybody, but 9 to 11 is number one in my opinion.
Beautiful. Second question, what's the one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
The book? Expert Secrets is a great book. If you're a techie, Building an Empire is the best book I've read in years and years and years. I'm currently reading Jimmy Rex's You End Up Where You're Heading. Great book. He's a brilliant guy. But I cycle through probably 10 books a year. One of my commitments was reading, which I have not done ever until about 3 years ago, by the way.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing that. I want to check out Building an Empire, and Expert Secrets is
Building Empires. Absolutely. One of the best scalable books on the planet. It's an emphasis on network marketing, but it works great in real estate leverage.
Beautiful. Give me a mobile or digital resource you recommend for your business.
Oh boy. I have so many apps on my phone. I think I have more apps than I do phone. I use CRM. I use the CRM KV Core, and I've used Boomtown. This is a real estate thing, but I've used Boomtown, Commissions Inc., Top Producer, you name it. I've been involved in them. KV Core, which happens to be one of the platforms that eXp supports, the company in. But it's been one of the game changers for me for communication and ease of use, transitioning from the desktop to the mobile.
Beautiful. Favorite leadership quote or that you strive to live by?
Help enough people get what they want and you'll get what you want. Zig Ziglar, that's something that I look at every single day. And Henry Ford, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Beautiful. What are you curious about right now?
I'm curious about what the transitional piece of the real estate world looks like. I think there's going to be great opportunities in the next two to 3 years. I think there's going to be great carnage in the real estate space in the next 2 to 3 years.
Last question, and this centers around after all your success in helping so many people and your career in real estate, how do you stay centered, Randy, in your values, and how do you stay encouraged to charge forward to reach new goals?
Big, hairy, audacious goals, BHAG. One of my morning routines every single day, which I'm a big morning routine guy, is focusing on the things that I could do today to help me move forward the most in my life and my business. And I'll kind of give you a glance of it here. You probably with the Zoom, you can't see it that well, but this particular thing is my game plan to 45 days of mental toughness to get out of 2020. 2020 has been a very disruptive mental, business, and everything else for people. And I'm no different. So to answer your question, I focus on my daily routines. I focus on moving my body. I focus on committing it to being a good day. I focus to my daily tasks and my power hour. I focus on what I'm going to accomplish that day in my work environment with power hour, disciplined prospecting, and social media strategies. I focus on having fun in my business and my life, number one, creating a life worth living, Tom Ferry. And then lastly, I have on that gives me goosebumps is giving back every week for the next 6 weeks is a commitment I did that keeps me in a place of gratitude and a place of contribution. And it keeps me fired up. It's one of the things that I'm wired for. And so that's how I stay focused every day is focusing on my growth list and what the big future goals are.
Amazing. And I want to thank you, Randy, for being on the show. I want to encourage you to keep using the gifts and talents you've been given to inspire others to grow their real estate business, to look at new ideas, to step out of fear and into, hey, what's potential? What's an opportunity here, like the eXp model? With that being said, Randy, for those who want to get in touch with you, where's the best place for them to find you?
RandyByrd.tv is probably the easiest. And then Coach Randy Byrd on Instagram.
Excellent. Well, that wraps up the show. I want to thank our listeners for listening to another episode of the Expert CRE Secrets podcast. As always, we believe most commercial real estate brokers or realtors, they struggle with clarifying their passive income options and clarifying new brokerage models. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven strategy such as the eXp commercial model and purchasing investment real estate is the best way for you to grow your wealth. Hey, if you want to hear more and see more about the eXp model, you can head down to expertcresecrets.com or just call me direct and I can talk to you about it. 916-303-3260.